Magic Market Broadcast Briefing. Hi, I'm Earl Z. Pearl, and welcome to another edition of How You Can Become a Professional Broadcaster. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out to Bobby's Karaoke in St. Louis out there in Florissant, Missouri. And I did a little time off and had a good time just relaxing with some old friends and customers. And it was nice to see you guys. Really had a great time out there at the karaoke doing Mick Jagger, Missing You. Had a lot of fun. Hope you've been well. And we're going to do our segment today based on interviewing. And we have got substantive interviews, and I'd like to share some of them with you in the coming weeks. And we're going to start off with an interview by Mr. Don Cody. And of course, Don Cody is a renowned broadcaster, has done TV before, first-class engineer. And I interviewed him some time ago here at Majic108fm.com. Hope you enjoy this interview and the subsequent interviews coming up in the coming weeks. You will be dissecting these interviews, looking at these interviews, figuring out how you would do an interview on your podcast or radio broadcast or TV podcast. Once you determine how you would do your own style, then you can implement it. And that's what these interviews are about. So hope you enjoy, and comment, subscribe, and support. We really appreciate you at Majic108fm.com. Earl Z. Pearl. Enjoy Don Cody. Magic 108, Earl the Pearl, with one of my favorite announcers, businessman, St. Louis, and just an all-around great guy that I used to listen to when I was younger. But I'm probably older than him. Bruce Nichols, Don Cody. Welcome.
Thank you, Earl. It's great to be with you and great to be on your new station. Congratulations on your endeavors. I listened to your station through Randy OJ, let me be aware of it, and I'm impressed with the quality sound and the great music that you're playing each and every day. And it's just amazing how you brought back to life Magic 108 FM.
I'm humbled that you put it that way. Mr. Don Cody is the CEO of Moses Media in Florida. Very successful enterprise, getting music played on the air, nationwide, worldwide. Just happy to have you here. And he began his musical journey, his entertainment journey in St. Louis, Missouri at KATZ Music 16. I had to say that because I emulated that coming up and admired you guys. Tell us about that experience, Don.
Well, St. Louis is my hometown. It's a great city, even though I reside here in Florida. I've been in Florida for 20 years. My roots are in St. Louis. I attended Sodan High School. I worked at KATZ back in the day when they were located in the arcade building downtown, 8th and Olive. This is going way back in the mid to late 70s when I was there. And from the arcade building, 8th and Olive downtown, we moved over to Tucker and Olive, which is 12th and Olive, the Missouri State Bank building. Then we moved over to the Bolivar, right across from Bi-State Bus Station, with Magic 108, your new station, Magic 108. That's when Magic was Magic. That's one of the reasons why you have Magic 108 now. Then we moved over to Corpus Square and Creve Coeur. But St. Louis is a great city. I attended Sodan High, went to Mitchell, Enright Middle School, lived in all parts of St. Louis, the Central West End, off of Lindell, not too far from Forest Park, on the south side, the north side, on Penrose, not too far from Natural Bridge. Attended a lot of the functions in St. Louis, the Kiel Auditorium, the Checker Dome, Arena. I'm telling my age going way back. And kicking it in Forest Park, going out of U City, Laclede Landing, and even crossing the bridge, going over to East St. Louis with some of the clubs back in the day with Jockenstein, the Royal Empire, Coleman Plaza, the Blue Swan, Garrett's Lounge, the Regal Room, I love St. Louis, and I work with so many pioneers and legendary DJs in St. Louis. Jocka Stein, Jim Gates, Bernie Hayes, Doug Eason, Gary Starr, Lee Michaels, Calvin Glenn, a.k.a. Mike Love, Sweet Charlie, Terry Houston, Edie B., Earl the Pearl yourself, and many, many legendary personalities. And then the ones over at Majic, like Eric Magic Man Michaels, Doc Winter, Chuck Atkins, Troy Johnson, Mark Clark, Tony Scott, Deneen Busby. A lot of legendary people lived and worked in St. Louis and migrated throughout the whole country and made a big name for themselves.
True. Oh, man, you have an astounding memory. Unless you're reading that off, that was astounding. How old are you now?
This is from my heart. I'll be 57 in a month.
Oh,
57 in a month. But I started when I was 15 years old. So I've been in the business for a little bit over 40 years. Randy O.J. and I, we were the youngest DJs of personalities. Actually, before we became DJs of personalities, we were gophers. There's no shame to my game. A gopher. We worked at the station where one of the DJs needed something to eat. We would go out and get him something to eat. And one of the DJs needed some cigarettes. We would go out and get him some cigarettes. So they needed a newspaper. This was before USA Today. This is where they had the Globe Dispatch. The Globe and the Post Dispatch. Mm-hmm. We would do our thing. And then we got to the point where we were no longer gophers. We had our own gophers. We went from being a gopher to having our own gopher. We had the respect and the appeal of the fans and the listeners, and we moved from there.
You've talked about so much. I don't know where to begin, but I'm going to start with one of my mentors, Bernie Hayes, Jim Gates, Bernie Hayes. Those are legends in St. Louis, and they're still here, and they're still producing. And I'd like for you to speak on those two legends.
Well, Bernie Hayes, I have the utmost respect for Bernie Hayes. Bernie is one of the very few guys in the business that's celebrating 50 years in broadcasting.
Wow.
And just to elaborate about Bernie is like Transformers. There is more than what meets the eye. Bernie is a newspaper man. He writes for the St. Louis American. Bernie is a teacher. He taught at UMSL. Bernie is a TV personality. He has a show on Channel 24. Bernie is a former PD, program director, a former jock, former talk show host. Bernie is an MC. Bernie even used to record records. His wife, Yubi, is a recording artist. So Bernie is Transformers. Bernie is the ultimate in the business. 50 years going strong. I learned a whole lot from Bernie Hayes. And he's not a puker. He's not a rhymer. He's a puker in the business. When you got these jocks who how you doing?
Right.
That's a puker.
Right.
A rhymer, Bernie doesn't try to rhyme. Now, Jock is famous for rhyming.
That's right.
Jock Stein, he's a great rhymer, but Bernie is a broadcaster. He doesn't really have a deep voice, but he has a way of making you feel warm listening to him.
Yes.
Bernie is a true professional. Now, Jim Gates, Jim and Bernie used to have a TV show back in the day on Channel 30 when Channel 30 was on Cold Street and Tucker or 12th. They had a dance show similar to Soul Train or American Bandstand, and Jim and Bernie were hosting co-hosts, which I thought was ironic because you have two different personalities.
Right, they're different.
Gentleman Jim Gates, the brown-eyed Scorpio, he former general manager of a radio station in East St. Louis. He also was the GM of KTZ and Z100 in St. Louis. PD, GM, DJ, great announcer, great DJ, great live broadcasting announcer. Jim is very tall, got the brown eyes.
Dapper.
Great with production as far as producing commercials. Nice tone. Jim did a lot of commercials. Now, very few people know that Jim branched out from St. Louis for a little while, and he actually worked in Detroit.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did. He worked in Detroit. He learned a lot from Berry Gordy and all the big artists that was with Motown. He got a lot of showmanship from Detroit and brought it back to St. Louis. Another thing that very few people know about Jim Gates was when Sylvia Robinson and Joey had the record label Sugar Hill Records.
Right.
Jim Gates was the one who broke Rapper's Delight. He was the first major radio station in the whole country to play that record. And when he played it, at that time, that record was 15 minutes long. He broke Rapper's Delight on WESL in East St. Louis.
Do you know, I read that in a book called by Don Chalmers, and I forgot the name of the book, but it chronicles hip-hop in its beginning, and it states exactly what you said, that Jim Gates broke that record, the first hip-hop record in America, at WESL.
Right.
Amazing.
And another thing I give Jim credit for, which was something that's totally unique in the broadcast industry, a lot of these shifts, and you're a DJ yourself, you know, an average DJ shift is 4 hours.
4 hours.
Make it 5 hours or 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But at ESL back in the day, Jim would have 2 and 3 hour shifts. And his mentality with that was, okay, you can work 2 hours or 3 hours on the radio, and you spend the rest of the time out of the field working at these clubs, doing discos or DJing, whatever, because he wanted the DJs to burn the candle on both ends of the stick. He wants you to be on the radio, pumping things up live so the listeners can hear, but at the same time, in these clubs and different places, I don't care if it's a car wash, a parade, whatever, so the word can get out about WESL.
Right.
So Jim was the master of that.
He was the master of that, and it's remarkable that you mentioned that in the framework that you did, because that was an indirect competition to Magic 108. They had the people. Magic 108 had the ratings, but the hearts and minds were with WESL in a lot of ways regarding Jim Gates and Dr. Jockenstein. Do you agree with that?
I do, and the difference was back then when Magic, even though it was a big FM station, you could hear Magic all over St. Louis, East St. Louis, and all the way out in Wentzville and other places. The difference, ESL was an AM station based in East St. Louis. That's where the WESL, East St. Louis, came from. Mm-hmm. But the difference in the personalities on Magic, they were what we call card readers. They'll read what's on the card. Hi, the weather is great, and the cream cord, Kinlock, it's a good day. But on ESL, it was more personality radio. They would say hi to so-and-so at the beauty shops, hi to so-and-so at the barber shop. They'll put people on the air, saying, okay, what do you want to hear? I'm going to get that on for you. They didn't do that at Magic. It was more like, we're going to just stick to the basics, but on ESL was more personality radio. Now, later on throughout the years, then Magic 108 got into more personality. This was during the time of Tony Scott, Mark Clark, Chaz Saunders, Eric Magic Man Michaels, Kevy Kev, Doc Winter, and that was pretty much the lineup like it was traditionally. And Kevin Woodson, who grew up in St. Louis on St. Louis Avenue, not too far from Sarah Lee, the shrimp and fish place.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
But
grew up there eating there.
ESL was so much of the personality radio, and at the time I was working at KETZ, and we had to bring Jockenstein on board because Jock was the master personality of all.
Right.
And I worked with Jock, Jim, Bernie, Lou Father Times, The Godfather, Terry Houston, and many other personalities. And each one of them had their own personality and their own strengths and weaknesses, but Jock, everybody loved Jock.
everybody loved John. We did. Even if we worked against him, we loved him because we saw him out in the street and he was like family.
Right. And not only was he out in the street, he used to wear his white glasses, and he was always pimped out, dressed really, really nice, and he had a nice car, and he kept an entourage around him because people would gravitate to Jock because they just liked him so much.
And you're absolutely right, man. You are a walking history book regarding the Majic history, and I just want to take a quick break, and I want to come back, and I want to talk about some of the entertainers that were influential in the time that Bruce Nichols. And one other thing I want to talk about is you becoming a first-class engineer at such a young age. I think a lot of listeners that are younger and have children or younger men could benefit from that story of how you dedicated yourself to become a first-class engineer of a major market radio station in the United States of America as a teenager. I want to hear about that. We're going to come right back with Mr. Don Cody and Moses Media, a.k.a. Bruce Nichols, right after this.